Okay, now we are live on Facebook and recording on Zoom. We are set up. I see lots of fun people, a lot of names of people I know joining us. Hi, Hinda. Hi, Figgy. I don't know who Becker is, and I know Lee. I'm not sure who Ellie is. I'm not sure who Nicole is. But if you want to turn on your videos, we'd love to see you. If not, that's also okay.
Hi.
Who is that?
I'm Rochelle Becker.
Hi, how are you? Nice to meet you.
Oh, Hashem, nice to meet you, Irina, and the rest of you.
Great, thank you. Let's see. Right, okay. Yeah, Chana, there's a reason I don't do waiting rooms. I'll tell you about that later. Okay, we'll get started in a minute. We're gonna give everyone another minute to join. Hi, Betty. Nice to see you all. Oh, now I can see you, Lee. Hi. Good to meet you in person, in Zoom person. Okay, Chana, are you ready to roll? Yeah? Okay, you're muted, Chana, so I can't hear you.
Ready whenever you are.
Amazing. Okay, so I love to start on time, and since we have people here, let's start. And whoever joins, joins. So welcome. Thank you everyone for joining us. It's so nice to see you. We are on Zoom. We have a bunch of people on Zoom with us, and we're also live streaming this into the Facebook group. And I know at least one person there is watching. And every once in a while, I'll look at my phone to see if there are any comments in the Facebook group because I can only see that on my phone. If you open up your chat, I put 2 great links there. I'll explain what they are later, but you're going to want these. So hang on to those in your chat.
I think you have to, people can only see the chat that is available after they join. So whatever you put before everybody joins in, people can't see.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So I should put them back in.
So I'll put them at the end. I'll post them again. We'll recopy them at the end. Great. Thank you for telling me that. I did not know that. Okay. So I assume most of you know me, but I'm going to introduce myself real fast, and then I'll introduce Chana. So welcome and thank you for joining us today. The title of today's talk is Hold That Thought, and for a better memory. And the name, for those of you that don't know, Chana's book is called Hold That Thought. So that was where the title came from, my putting together a few things. So I'm a geriatric social worker and memory coach. I have a business called Memory Matters. I teach memory improvement courses to midlifers and seniors online. I used to teach live for many years, and even before Corona hit, I wanted to put it online. And now, even more so, this has been the time to get it online. So some of you, I see some ladies here that have actually taken my course, so thank you for joining us. And hi, Shosh, I see Shosh, I see Hinda. Actually, I don't see Hinda, but I know Hinda's here. Lee wants to take my course. Lee might be trying to organize it in Rehoboth. Thank you, Lee. So thank you, everyone, for joining us. So that's pretty much what I do. I won't tell you about all my background and experience. Most of you have heard it already. But that's what I'm doing now is teaching courses online. If you're not in my Facebook group and you're on Facebook, please join my Facebook group. It's called Memory Matters, Tips and Tricks for Midlifers and Seniors. And in there, we post a lot of fun videos and humor and valuable information about memory and focus and aging, and we have a good time in my Facebook group. I love it. I have people from all over the world in there. It's so cool. And Chana Mason just started a Facebook group. I'm going to let you, Chana, I'm going to let you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about how you came to this work and what you, Chana's super passionate about what she does. I don't have to talk for her. She is, her positivity and exuberance shines right through her. So I'm going to let her introduce herself. But I met Chana at a TEMF conference a couple months back, and I didn't know then that our paths were going to cross again and again. So I'm really grateful to Chana for everything. We were in a mastermind group together, learned so much from her. She's been so helpful to me. And I just read her book on Shabbos, and I enjoyed it so much. And before I hand over the floor to you to introduce yourself, Chana, I just want to say about your book, it's called Hold That Thought. What struck me about your book was it was so deep. and yet so simple. Like I'm a clinical social worker, right? I know a lot of these concepts, but I kept going back and forth between, wow, this is really deep, and wow, this is so simple at the same time. That's the power of that book. I really, really enjoyed it. So without further ado, Chana, introduce yourself, tell us what you do, why you do it, and then we'll go into a facilitation process where Chana will facilitate, will demonstrate a process with me, and then we'll tell you about Chana's course that is coming up soon.
Okay, so hi everyone. So nice to meet, so to speak, all of you. So I'm a vitality coach, and a lot of people ask me like, how'd you come up with that word? So I happen to be really passionate about physical health as well as mental health, and I help people clarify a vision for their lives and manifest the life of their dreams. We actually have a book that my husband and I wrote called The Size of Your Dreams. It's all about that. And I'm also really into helping people just experience so much more joy and peace in their minds, which is kind of more in the mental health category, and also know a lot about physical health and wellness and nutrition. And I was trying to find a word that kind of fits all of this together, and vitality came up for me because the more vitality you experience in your body, the more you can experience in your mind, and the other way around is also true. And what I notice is that the belief work that I do really helps people in their mental acuity. So whether it's memory or just being able to focus and concentrate or get stuff done or be able to have a vision for the future of what it is that they want, all of those things are deeply affected by the beliefs that we have. And this book, Hold That Thought, that Rena keeps holding up, is really all about that. So I just want to point out that some people don't have themselves on mute, and that might interrupt the transmission. So you might want to put yourselves on mute if you're not.
And I'm going to mute everyone also.
Okay. So,
Whoopsie.
okay. Now people can hear me? We're good?
Sorry. I by mistake muted you with everyone else. I'm sorry.
It's all good. So the book, Hold That Thought, is literally about like grasping for a moment or 2 or 20, whatever thoughts or beliefs that we have that are blocking us from just experiencing the natural vitality that's always available to us. And taking that moment to ask questions and to inquire about that thought so that then possibly we can feel differently, explore different perspectives, and possibly choose thoughts and espouse thoughts that bring us a lot more joy. And I feel like the best way to understand this concept is to actually just see it in action. And what I love is the core tool of inquiry that I'm going to share today is something called the work of Byron Katie. In my courses and in my book, I go a lot deeper into a lot more tools, some of which I've created, some of which I've culled from other practitioners like Barry Neal Kaufman and Stephen Covey, and I pull a little bit even from Viktor Frankl. So that being said, just in this moment, the work of Byron Katie is so clean and it's so simple, and everyone has the capacity to learn it. And I'm going to show you how it works by engaging with Rena on a belief that she has. So since this is all about memory, Rena, can you tell us a time that you felt either around memory or just thinking or your ability to focus in general that you were just stressed out or upset?
Yes. I can tell you a lot of times. Yeah.
Okay, so
that feeling of overwhelm and feeling like I might not be able to remember this, and so distracted that I can't focus on anything. I don't feel productive. I'm just overwhelmed. I'll call it overwhelm. Yeah. You want a specific time that I thought that?
Yeah. So I'm sure you've had a bunch, and maybe some of them even look the same. It doesn't matter. Just pick one so that it's something that you can picture.
Okay. I got it.
Okay. So you don't need to give us all the story of what's happening in the situation, but if you could give us a location marker so that I could bring you back there, like you're standing in the kitchen or you're sitting at your desk or something like that.
So yeah, in my office, which is also my guest room. It's a multi-function room, but all I need is my computer and webcam and my pretty green screen that I can put this background on. So yeah, I'm at my desk working. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to take you through this process called the work. And this process is made up of 4 questions. And then there's something called a turnaround. And when we get to the turnaround, I'll explain it later. But the 4 questions are really simple. The first question is it true? So first, we need to know what it is that you're believing, Rena, that's making you feel overwhelmed. Okay? So what I want you to do is I want you to close your eyes.
Okay.
And go into that moment where you're feeling overwhelmed. And if everyone learns one thing from this hour, ideally, or half hour, I don't remember how much time we're spending here. Ideally, it would be this, is to ask yourself the question, what am I believing right now that's making me feel this way? So Rena, what's your answer to that question? What are you believing right now that's making you feel this way?
Okay, I'm believing that I can't handle all this. I can't juggle all this.
Okay, so I'm going to write that down so everybody can see it, because I'm sure we've all experienced that thought. You could even raise your hand. It's like, have you ever believed you can't juggle all of this? Handle or juggle? Which one's more poignant for you?
Juggle.
Okay. Great. So you can't juggle all of this. Is it true?
Not really. I believe it, but it's not really true.
And so the second question, which in this case is mute, but I'm going to go ahead and share it anyway. Can you absolutely know that it's true that you can't juggle all of this?
No.
And how do you react? This is question number 3. How do you react when you believe the thought that you can't juggle all of this?
I react panicky, frenzied, all over the place, help.
And what happens in your body when you're believing that thought?
I feel tense. I feel panicky. I feel like I'm not breathing fully.
So one of the things that happens when we're believing something that isn't true is that our body goes into a stress state. So you're definitely in a stress state now, right?
Yeah.
Your heart rate's up, your breathing's shallow, right? Your muscles have tightened, all of this stuff. And the correlation between believing something that's not true and being in a stress state, you might be like, well, wait, but that doesn't make sense. Why do those 2 things have to go together? Except if you've ever heard or seen a lie detector test, you'll know that the whole purpose of a lie detector test is to measure a person's state of stress. When their stress response goes up, that means they're lying. So that's a really cool indication. If you're just a person who wants to believe things that are true, or you're a person who wants to believe things that make you happy, you happen to get both in this situation, where what is true will also make you feel good, right? So it's not, these things are not in conflict with one another, even though there's kind of a societal story that they are, right? Mm-hmm. So we already know that what Rena's believing isn't true. And even though she was, she said it wasn't true, but if she had said it was true and she felt like it felt so true inside of her body, here we already know her body's telling her, right? It's not true, because she's creating all of this internal stress and conflict. But here's a really cool thing, right? Rena, when you're believing the thought that you can't juggle all of this, are you hoping that that belief will help you accomplish more?
Am I hoping it will? I guess I am, right? I guess I'm hoping it will, but it doesn't.
So a lot of times we have like these beliefs that we think are gonna, one of the students in my course last week, she said it's like gonna prod me like the school marm is gonna say, do, right? You should do this thing, right? And you think it's gonna prod you in the direction you wanna go, but it prods you in the opposite direction. Because how easy is it for you to focus and get stuff done when you're believing the thought that you can't juggle all of this?
It just makes it more difficult.
And how much mental clarity do you have?
None.
What's your memory like?
I can't focus. I can't focus on what I'm trying to do because I'm too panicky.
So there's just like all this noise cluttering your mind that makes it difficult for you to think straight. Yeah. So I definitely notice I'm much more forgetful when I'm in a state of stress than when I'm calm. So that already is like huge. Okay. So here's a really cool tool that everyone can take right now. So I'm going to ask Rena, you to do something, and I'm going to ask everyone to do the same thing. Take your dominant hand and put it on your chest, right in that spot where you put your hand when you say, I am. And close your eyes and put all of your mind's focus on the spot under your palm. And just breathe, just engage in some regular, healthy breathing. And as you do that, I want you to invite all of the scattered parts of yourself that might be thinking about tomorrow or yesterday or your next door neighbor's dog or what you're making for dinner, like all of these different parts of yourself that are scattered in different places, and just invite them all to come home the way you might see birds coming home to roost around a tree at sunset. And there'll be a certain point at which you just feel like at ease and you notice your breathing has calmed. There's a lot of science behind what I'm saying, but you can just enjoy the pleasure of it and forget the science. And if you watch Rena's face without her getting embarrassed, if you watch Rena's face, you can see her entire disposition has changed and her breathing has become very regulated. And so for me, that's something that I'm looking for. And now I can ask Rena, Byron Katie's fourth question. Rena, I want you to imagine there you are sitting at your desk. Keep your eyes closed.
Okay.
There you are sitting at your desk. And I want you to imagine this thought that you can't juggle all of this. I want you to picture it leaving your office and walking out of the house. And I don't know, it's got a fetish for ice cream. So off it goes to the supermarket and it's gonna eat all of the ice cream at the supermarket. So here we are without the thought because it's very busy over there at the supermarket. How are you without the thought?
So much freer. So much freer. I don't need that thought, right? So much freer.
So what are you feeling in your body and what are you feeling in your mind?
I'm feeling relief in my body. Also that exercise you just did really helped me focus. Like, is that something we could just do anywhere to help focus ourselves? Yeah. That's powerful. That's very powerful. So I feel my body feels relieved. My thoughts feel a little clearer. Like, okay, I can do this. I can do this.
Sweet. So those were the four questions. The first one is it true? The second one is, can I absolutely know that it's true? When we engage this absolute question, it forces us to get out of the myopic trapped place we can sometimes get into and just open up our peripheral vision and our perspective. And the third question is, how do I react when I believe that thought? And I'm looking for what happens in my body, what happens emotionally, what happens to my behavior. And then I can ask, how am I without the thought? And really look at the comparison between the two and already give my mind an opportunity to say, how does this thought feel? And how do I feel without it? And do I really need this in my life? Is it really helping and supporting the life that I want to live? Or is it actually pulling me away from what I'm looking for the peace and joy and calm that I'm looking for, which is really what we all want. So then to answer the question, well, why did this thought come into my life in the first place, right? If it's here, it must have some sort of purpose, right? We believe that there's some creator God that runs the world that's bringing everything into my life for a reason. And it's not just the circumstances and the people who I meet, but even the thoughts, they come my way, right? We could all raise our hand and say, oh yeah, I had this belief, I can't juggle all of this. So the belief is like a person who lives in our neighborhood who comes by to say, you can't handle all of this, right? So it's like, why is she coming to nag us in this way? And the answer that Byron Katie offers, which I think is really the genius in her teaching, is that the lesson is embedded in the opposite of the thought. It's what she calls a turnaround. So in Rena's situation, your original belief is you can't juggle all of this. What would be the opposite of that?
The opposite of that is I can juggle all this. I can handle this.
And you know how when you were believing you can't juggle all of this, there was like this scary movie reel playing in your mind of like all of the reasons why? It was like you were like an attorney with all of this evidence. So now we want to explore this other way of thinking and also give evidence for this new perspective. So can you give us some pieces of evidence for the new thought?
Like why I can handle this?
Mm-hmm.
Or why I can juggle all this? Okay, why can I juggle this? Because I'm really capable. I've done it before. and I feel calmer now. So I probably can handle it.
Wow. Give us some more reasons. This is good.
Okay, more reasons why I can handle this. I'm really enjoying what I'm doing, and when I can just focus on that, I don't get so overwhelmed.
And also, I happen to know that you have people supporting you, right?
I have a lot of people. I have a lot of people supporting my whole journey and process, and also, quite frankly, I have the practical tools and strategies to focus. I teach this: focus and be organized, and remember what I need to do. So I really just need to practice what I preach.
Wow, what a novelty. Okay, great. So something, I don't know if everyone else caught what happened as Rena was speaking. She took her original belief that she can't juggle all of this, and the opposite for her was she can juggle all of this. But as she started to speak, what she did was she replaced the word juggle with handle. And for me, that's particularly meaningful because I actually think it's true that you can't juggle all of this.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a particular type of opposite that is really fun and playful. So when you say you can't juggle all of this, you're also implying that there's something wrong with that, correct?
Right.
I can't juggle all of this, and that's not okay.
Right, because I should be able to.
Right. So the opposite here would be, I can't juggle all of this, and that is okay.
Okay.
So give us 3 reasons why it's true that you can't juggle all of this and it's okay.
Okay, that's interesting. 3 reasons why it's okay that I can't juggle it. Because it's really too much for one person.
Okay.
Because I do so many different things, so it's okay. What's the 3rd reason? It's okay because it's okay to feel overwhelmed. I don't have to be scared by that.
Okay. So I thought of something much, much simpler than that.
Okay.
Our minds use language for very specific reasons. And sometimes we use language that creates more stress than necessary. Mm-hmm. So I had a client once talking about how she was drowning in debt. Mm-hmm. So I said to her, really, you're drowning in nothing, right? Like, can you picture drowning in debt? The closest image that your mind can procure is drowning in a pool full of money, which would actually be the opposite of debt. Does everybody get that? Like how funny that it, right? Try to picture somebody in a pool and there's money everywhere. That's the closest drowning they could do. So, but as soon as we hear the word drowning, our body starts going into a stress response because drowning is scary. Do you get? Mm-hmm. Right? So I'm curious to know, Rena, I don't know you that well, but I have a feeling that you don't know how to juggle.
Really juggle? Like
really juggle, like balls. Do you juggle?
No.
Right. So for you, when you bring up juggling, that already causes stress because you can't juggle anything, much less a whole bunch of intangible tasks.
Right.
So you're using a word that's going to cause stress because it's impossible to juggle an email. You can juggle an orange, but you can't juggle an email. And even you can't juggle an orange. Right? So the language that you chose, and that's something that I go into in my book, there's like some chapters all about language and the language traps that we create, where you can see like, oh, look at that. What was I going to say? Look at that idea of trying to juggle something, but you're not a juggler to begin with, right? And to juggle tasks, it's look at how do you do that? And what you did naturally is you shifted from juggling to handling, which is a much more accurate representation of what you do when you're engaged in your tasks. You don't throw them up in the air and hope that you catch them. You use your hands to engage with one at a time. Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
So the question for me always is, after engaging in a whole facilitation and getting to a turnaround, is asking the question, now you have 2 turnarounds. You can't juggle this and that's okay. And you can handle this. Right. And how do you take those new lessons and really ingrain them through action in your life? How do you act upon these new understandings?
Okay, is that the same question as if this thought comes up again, what am I going to do? Is it the same question?
That would be an example, right?
Okay.
Or I would say even preemptively, right? Like you could sit down in 10 minutes to write an email and notice how you're like, oh, look, I'm handling this. And then you do the next task and you say, oh, look, I'm handling this. And you keep saying that over and over again, and your brain starts associating you as someone who handles things.
Right. Okay. So that would be the new application you're saying.
Yeah, that would be an example. But
Right.
for you finding the example that's more meaningful, I can't answer that.
Right. Right. Okay. Let me think. I think it's going to be the way I talk to myself. It's going to be, I would say one thing at a time. You can do this, but only one task at a time, but you can do it. Because I get overwhelmed when I try to do too many things at once, which we can't do.
Right. That would be the juggling thing, right? Where actually you're only holding one piece of fruit at a time.
Right.
That's where that analogy could become like a joke. You're like, yep, can't juggle it, right? I can only do one fruit at a time. The other ones can wait. They can hold, they can stay up in the air.
Exactly.
Amazing. Great.
So when we do that, like when I'm able to apply that, let's say, am I sort of like creating new neurons in the brain, like a new neuronal pathways that are going to help me function better? Is that what's happening?
That's exactly what's happening. So what this whole process of questioning our thinking already, you have this really strong web, and it starts to make that web a little bit shaky. And now what we're doing is we're building a new web by bringing in all of this evidence and associating it with the thought. The evidence was always there. We were just not paying attention to it. And the more focus you put on the new thought and the less focus you put on the old thought, this one will just atrophy in the end. That's what happens to beliefs that we no longer engage with. And the new one gets stronger and stronger. And over time, you do that with enough beliefs and you start building a totally different life for yourself using such simple tools. The challenge can be when, for example, in this situation, you were believing, I can't juggle all of this. You have a whole web of other beliefs that are connected to this. One is that, you have to do everything perfectly. You have to be a superwoman. You have to be successful right away. Nobody can see you sweat. I'm just guessing, right?
Yeah.
But I'm probably pretty accurate because
yes, you are.
they're pretty universal experiences. And I'm, an entrepreneur just like you. So I know this stuff, right? And so what happens is we've got this like whole, what I call a Tower of Babel, all of these beliefs that are all webbed together. And really clarifying what the beliefs are is actually like a good chunk of my book. Is about a third of the book is in helping us unveil what are all of the beliefs that we need to question in the first place. And then how do we go through that questioning process? And how do we open ourselves up to new perspectives and then act upon them so that we can live, just happier like you're feeling right now.
Amazing, amazing. And I'm thinking that how we can apply this even more with memory. And that's, I know as we get older, we tend to have a lot of negative self-talk about aging and memory. And I've heard from my, seniors that I've worked with, it's like, goes like this. I'm too old to remember that. It's too hard to remember that. I'm too ADD as I get older. I can't focus on anything. I can't remember anything. And they sort of give up before they start because they have all this negative self-talk going on in their brains. So what you just demonstrated on me, we really could use for any of those thoughts having to do with how we talk to ourselves about memory, right?
Exactly. And so what happens is when I'm believing I'm too old for anything, whether it's to remember or to run or to, I don't know, learn something new, my brain will literally go foggy. And my body will shut down and I'll feel pretty emotionally low. I can feel that in my body right now, just to say I'm too old. It's like I already start to recoil. And our brain, our subconscious brain is a fantastic servant. It's a marvelous servant. It loves to follow orders. You tell it you're too old to remember something and it's going to do exactly that, right? And so giving it something else to think about and showing all of this evidence for why that's true is really helpful. So something I did for myself when I became a new mom, so people talk about mommy brain, right? Which is like, it's like, I'm having an elderly moment. It's that same kind of thing. But I noticed, I started paying attention to, well, is that really true that I've become dumber? And my experience was that I took on so many tasks that were constantly on my desktop. Remembering my son's bowel movements and eating habits and sleeping habits and play habits, and constantly having to remember all of that all day long, that takes up a tremendous amount of mental capacity. So it's not that I became dumber, it's that a lot of my intelligence transferred to other areas that as a mother, I was really prioritizing. And even just saying that makes me feel really good about myself.
Mhm.
Not because I'm lying, but because I'm actually looking at reality in a more accurate way.
And what you just said just is very powerful, because the same thing happens as we get older. Our wisdom is so much greater, right? Our wisdom and life experience expand. So even if you feel like you're forgetting, we have so much we can compensate, like so much compensation, so much to fall back on, because we have, 60, 70, 80 years of life experience and wisdom. So there's so much there to build on.
And now that we have the internet, the details just don't matter so much. They're so easy to look up.
Right. Right. It's true. It's true. It's true. There's a comment here from Esther. CHANA, another way to ask the Byron Katie question number 4 is, who am I? Who would I be without that thought?
Yes. So I had asked, how are you without the thought? Sometimes people say, who are you without the thought? And it just depends on how you choose to shape that question in the moment. I find how to be a little bit more meaningful because it's keeping you still like in your body. But it could be if you were in a situation where it's in relationship, and maybe you're in a conflicted relationship, that who are you? You might notice that you step up to the plate in relationship more, for example.
I want to mention a quote from your book that I found amazing. I think it's going to help people. And maybe you want to talk about this a little bit. It's at the end of the book, like the chapter on the courtroom, CHANA. The quote from Tony Robbins: what we can or cannot do, what we consider possible or impossible, is rarely a function of true capability. It is more likely a function of our beliefs about who we are. And I think that, it applies to every area of our life, but it could definitely apply to what we're telling ourselves about our memory. It could definitely apply to how we feel about aging and ourselves as we get older. But the point is that we really, another way of saying that, another quote, the way of saying that is the way Jim Quick says it is, whether you believe you can or you believe you can't, you are right, right? It's the same concept, that we really can achieve so much more if we believe in ourselves. Can you speak to that a little bit?
My experience so much is we have 2 different ways in which we can shift our beliefs. One is the internal way, where we question our existing beliefs and choose different perspectives, or people can do affirmations, for example, and just repeat something over and over and over again. And then there's the external way, where we decide to engage in behaviors that oppose our beliefs. So my husband, for example, was petrified of the camera, absolutely hated the camera so much that we didn't have a videographer at our wedding because there was no way he was going to have such a thing happen.
Oh my God.
And he realized, he got to a certain point that as a published author of 4 books and someone who wants to influence people, he's eventually just going to have to get to the point where he gets in front of the camera and does so comfortably. And so he set a goal that every single day for a year, he was going to make a video. And he's stuck to that goal now. He's in his 2nd year. And at the beginning, he was really bad. And he had to like pump himself up. He would sing this song and play music and say, I love the camera and the camera loves me. It was like really cute. And he was really bad because he was just so uncomfortable. And now he's just so comfortable in front of the camera. He does it with so much ease. He'll even do Facebook Lives, which, takes a lot of courage to do a Facebook Live because you can mess up, it's not like you could edit it. And he's just gotten really comfortable in front of the camera. And so now he sees himself as someone who's comfortable in front of the camera because he did it so many times. I see myself as a hiker because despite the fact that I used to be petrified of mountains, I've just hiked so many of them that now it changes the way I see myself because of my behavior has been so different.
Wow.
So how we, what I focus on in the course is really on doing that internal work and then immediately saying, okay, how do we apply that in the external world? How do we change our behavior so that the internal work sticks and we really develop that new neural network in a very strong way and change our, future path. It's amazing.
So I want to mention the word neuroplasticity, because what you just said is that we can change our neuronal pathways. That's what neuroplasticity is. And it's like one of the hottest words in neuroscience and brain health, neurogenesis, neuroplasticity. And even though I talk about it usually in terms of memory, it's really, really relevant in terms of thoughts and functioning and happiness and serenity and everything that you do also.
Yeah, it's like so much about like self-identity.
Yeah.
We're literally building our identity every single day, and we can build our identity by further ingraining certain ideas we have about ourselves, or by reshaping ideas we have about ourselves. So it's just a matter of like, well, do you like those ideas? If you don't, just write a new story. The idea that we say, oh, I am who I am, it's like, no, it's not. You are who you choose to be in every single moment. And you can just choose to shift certain aspects of yourself that aren't working for you and aren't in alignment with your values and just don't make you happy, right? It's cool.
Yeah. So when you say I'm really bad at names, or I'm not going to remember that, or I'm too forgetful, if we could change all those thoughts and self-talk, we could be different people. That's what you're saying, right?
Literally.
Yeah.
And then our brains will be our servants. We say, wow, I'm really good at remembering names. You say that over and over and over again, or you question that habit of thinking that way. So on a really simple example, I have a client who, you know, talks about how like it's impossible for him to take on something that he's not good at, to do something he's not good at. He has to be good at stuff. And I said to him, I was like, that's ridiculous. So much of your life has just been swimming in failure. And he's looking at me, he's like, what are you talking about? I said, how long did it take you to try to stand before you could actually do it? How many times did you go ba, 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 ba until you can actually say a real word? How many times did you try to get food in your mouth and it ended up on your chin or on your chest or in your diaper, for that matter, before you were actually able to like really consistently get it inside of your mouth, right? So like our lives are just so full of making so many mistakes until we get good at stuff. And believing that we're good at stuff is really helpful. Babies just believe that they will be able to walk, which is why they keep trying. And that belief keeps them going. They just take it as a given that that's going to be the case.
Right. They don't know about failure. They don't know what, anything about failure.
They just live it and do it anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's great. Can we just review that exercise that we did before about helping us focus, bringing all the thoughts back? Because I want people to make sure they have that, because it's such a good tool.
Amazing. Yeah, this is my favorite tool. I'm really proud of this one, because
let's do it again.
This one's mine. I don't know how I came up with it, but I came up with it at some point in the past couple of years. So you take your dominant hand,
okay,
and you put it on your chest in that spot where you put your hand when you say I am, and you close your eyes. And if you happen to be in a public place, so putting your hand on your chest is really easy, but closing your eyes might be a little uncomfortable. So you could just pretend that your eyes are closed, or you could sneak to the bathroom or something like that. But ideally, you close your eyes and you just regulate your breathing as best you can. And if you're stressed, don't worry about it. Just breathe. And you imagine all of the different parts of yourself, the parts of yourself that are thinking about your spouse, or about what's for dinner, or about, I don't know, your toe that's stubbed. I have a stubbed toe, so there we go. Or whatever else that's going on, the past, the future. You just bring all of that energy back home, like little birds fluttering around a tree at sunset time, collecting under your hand. And you just keep breathing in that space. And there will be a moment, you should be able to catch it, when you feel like, I'm home. And you might even notice your body sighing. And your breathing just naturally gets into that slow pace that it gets to when you're resting or about to fall asleep. And it just feels good to be here. And from this place, you'll notice that it's easier to make decisions. It's easier to focus. It's easier to remember things. And it's easier to be really clear about what's your next step, whether that next step is picking up your cup of tea, or walking to the bathroom, or writing an email, or, packaging something for a customer. It really doesn't matter what it is. You'll suddenly just feel like, oh, I know what the next step is, because you've come back into your own body and haven't lost yourself out in the world, scattered all over the place. It's for those of you in the audience here who are Jewish, it's like, this to me is the ultimate kibbutz galuyot, right? It's the ingathering of the exiles. Like, sometimes we exile ourselves from our own bodies and we can welcome ourselves back home into the place where we belong.
Chana, that is so powerful. I love it. I love it. How many times a day do you do that exercise?
So I sit in meditation for 20 minutes in the morning when I wake up. Mm-hmm. So that's very much a time that's really my goal, is just to center over and over again. And then right. I do yoga, and I'm also back focusing on my breath. And whenever I feel like I'm getting scattered, I just put my hands on my chest. I think my hand on my lives on my chest a lot more than it used to. And I don't think I even notice that anymore. It just kind of happens now.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very grounding, very centering, very calming. I love that. Thank you.
My pleasure.
So can you tell us a little bit about your course that's starting on Sunday? Because people might want to be learning more. So just tell us what that course includes, what do you talk about?
Oh, yes. Oh, I'm very, very excited about this course that starts on Sunday. So Yay. On Sunday, I'm starting a new group of my course, Release That Thought. I, just like Rena, taught that course live a bunch of times and was really hoping to get online, but Corona kind of gave me that final push to get an online course going. And the first cohort we had was in May and June. And now we're starting a new group on Sunday. And this course runs for 6 weeks. On Sundays for 2 hours. It's from 5 to 7 p.m. Israel time, which is 10 to 12 a.m. Eastern time. And we're really going to delve into these tools that I go through in my book of clarifying what are the beliefs getting in our way, asking questions to inquire as to the veracity of the beliefs and whether there are other ways that we can look at things, and then exploring new perspectives. And one of the really great things about the course is that sometimes when we read a self-help book like mine, you learn so many cool ideas, but they don't stick unless you practice them a bunch. So that's one of the purposes of the course, is you work together with a buddy. You also, in the live course, work in groups. During the week, you get homework to facilitate yourself in a journal, but also to facilitate your buddy. And you just practice doing this process over and over and over again. When I first learned it, and when I first learned the work of Byron Katie, and then I expanded with a whole bunch of other tools from other practitioners and also tools that I created. But when I first learned it, I learned it with a group of friends, and we met every week for a couple of years and practiced using these tools. And then we met, and then one of my girlfriends and I, we met every single day and went for a walk every single day for a few years and practiced facilitating each other. So I've just gotten really good at it because I have so much practice. And that's one of the things that the course creates, is a structure and an environment and a private Facebook group where people can ask questions. And then in between, during the week, I also offer like mini coaching sessions to participants to give people more opportunities to see the process of inquiry in action. And the course actually has a normal price of $149, but for those who sign up by tomorrow, we've got an early bird fast action discount of 33%. So that's really exciting. And you can also sign up with a buddy. And then when you sign up with a buddy, you get a free download of the audiobook of my other book, The Size of Your Dreams, which, Rena, have you gotten to that one yet?
I didn't read it yet.
That's your next Shabbos read.
It's my next Shabbos. I read this over Shabbos. I loved it. I'm going to read that next Shabbos.
Yeah. So I've heard from so many readers who say the book changed their life, or they couldn't put it down, or they were up till 3 o'clock in the morning on Shabbos because they just couldn't stop reading this book. So hopefully you'll also get a chance to just enjoy the audio version as well. And all of my books are available as free downloads on my website. I think, Rena, you have a free download link that you can share with people.
Yes, thank you. I just posted in the chat. It says to download the ebook. There's a link here, and right above that, there's a link that says for sign up and details about the course. These are affiliate links, so you can copy and paste them. I'm also going to send out an email with the replay to this. And these links. So if you can't copy and paste this or don't know how to do that, don't worry. Anyone who's on my email list is going to get these links and the replay. If you are not on my email list, please get on it. Just send me an email, rena@renayudkowski.com. I'll put that in the chat. Rena at, one second, RenaYukalski.com. Let me just make sure I spelled it right. Yeah, okay. And get on my email list, you'll get those links, or you can copy and paste it from here. You are so generous, Hannah, that you make these books available for free. It's amazing. And there was also a comment here that I just want to read from Esther. Byron Katie's The Work has been ever so useful over the years. RE, the identity factor, that question number 4 helps me click out of the habitual narrative I tell myself about who I am, asking who would I be without one of my core erroneous beliefs. I like Hannah's advice about taking the old thought belief and making it walk out of the room and eat ice cream. I love that. That was a great one. And what else did we write here? So glad that Hannah has organized these tools into learning modules and practice them. Thanks, Hannah. And yes, Hannah really makes this very practical. When she teaches, I watched several of her stuff over the last few weeks. She's been doing some free webinars and stuff. And she practices, she demonstrates everything on people, and it's so fun to watch because it makes it so real. And every time she does this on a volunteer, I'm like, I have that thought, I have that thought, I have that thought. So it's like really universal thoughts, extremely practical tools, and she's also a lot of fun to watch. I am so tempted to do this course, Hannah. So wait, you said the details. You said the times and the date and the prices, right?
Yes.
Times, dates, and prices you said, but it's all on the link that I just put in the chat. And then I'm going to send that in an email after this with the replay. And you can share it. If any of you that were on have friends that didn't make it on and you think they could benefit from this in any way, please, Hannah and I are happy for you to share the links to her course, to my website, to my email, to anything. We're happy for you to share. We want to help as many people as possible with these tools. Are there any other questions before we let Hannah go? I know Hannah she's doing another thing at 5 o'clock on her thing, in her group. Hannah, did you say the name of your group?
So my group is called the Vitality Hub, Hannah Mason's Vitality Hub on Facebook. Okay,
so anyone who's on Facebook could join that group. If there are any other questions, put them in the chat and I'll read them. Oh, great. Okay, you put that. Great.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna, for 1 second, I'm just gonna check the Facebook thing and see if anyone has any questions. Okay, does not. Sorry, that. Okay, there's a delay when I go onto that. There's like a 20-second delay. So, any last questions? Otherwise, we're gonna let Hannah go. I'm happy to stay on for a few minutes if we need to. I wouldn't even mind. We're not so many people. I don't even mind if you unmute yourself to ask a question. When we do this with 200 people, it's hard to do it, but I think we're 17 or 18 people on. So if anyone has a question, you can unmute yourself.
So Brenner's is not muted. Do you have a question?
No, you were very clear to me, and I'm very thankful. I just want to share with you that you brought to my mind when I was in my 20s, I used to read books of Louise Hay. She passed away, but she really printed a lot, and her ideas are very similar. Then I didn't think about the future. Maybe I will have dementia or not, and preventive. But she gave you tools that were amazing, and the title of that book that had a lot of influence on me was "The Power Is Within You." It's just to bring out your power, your strategies, your abilities, and also choose your friends. That's very important, because friends that put you down constantly, and you sit down with them, but when you get up and you go away, you feel so much worse. These are friends that you need to cut off relationship, because they are not doing good things for you. And I learned that, and you really reinforce the mentality, the approach of to do yoga, to do the ruchniut that you are doing. And I feel that now I need the ruchniut more than before.
Yes.
Well, Corona's begging that of us.
Yeah.
It's my
Thank-
pleasure. Look
Thank
forward to having you join the course. It would be a pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shosh. Shosh, you mentioned something that I wasn't even thinking of, which is very important, and that is the fear of dementia. A lot of us have this terrible fear of dementia, whether it's because we cared for a parent or grandparent or, watched a family member go through it. And that fear of dementia is very strong for people, and it can paralyze them, actually. So that would be a great place to use some of these tools. So Shosh, thanks for bringing that up.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chana. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Atzlacha with your course. I know it's going to be amazing.
Amen. Amen.
I really would encourage any of you that have the time and interest and who really want to just bring some more calm and serenity into your lives, which I think we all need right now. I would highly recommend that course. I think it's going to be amazing. As you see, Chana's super positive and super inspiring. So thank you, Chana.
Thank you, everyone. Take care. Have a sweet
And
week.
Chana she actually put the 4 questions in the chat if anybody wants to review that. But we're going to let Chana go. I'll stay on and answer any questions if there are any other questions. Thank you so much, Chana. Are there any other questions? You're all welcome to join Chana in her Vitality Hub Facebook group. She's going to be doing a question and answer now about her course, actually at 5 o'clock our time, which is in 10 minutes. My Facebook group, some of you are in it. Those of you who aren't, it's called Memory Matters, Tips and Tricks for Midlifers and Seniors. And again, feel free to join my email list if you're not on it. Send me an email, rena@renayudkowski.com. I'll be happy to add you to my email list and send you out whatever fun things I'm doing, like these interviews. And in the chat, if you just go back up, you'll see a link. You can download Chana's book, Hold That Thought, which I have in my hand for free. It's an ebook. You can download it for free with the link that I put in there. And there's also a link to find out more about her course. And I will be sending out an email shortly with this replay and those links. So I want to thank you all so much for joining me. I hope you learned something new. And I wish you all well. Until next time, have a good day, good night, whatever time it is by you. I am sure we have people on here from different countries. And I appreciate you joining us. Thanks all so much. Take good care.
Thank you.